Hi, welcome. I am Mr. Atterbury, and we are going to go over how to create a normal curve just from scratch. Going over just a blank normal curve from start to finish. Let's check it out, what we're looking at. So this is how to create a normal curve. And remember, our goal is to make this bell-shaped curve like this. Okay, so I'm going to show you kind of how to make the dots and all that kind of. I'm going to start with pencil to make it look nice. I'm going to make a straight line across. All right, and I'm gonna make these little markers every inch on here, okay? And I'm going to make, I think it's like 7 marks I need to make across here. All right, that looks good. From here, okay, your mu is your mean. That number is gonna go right here at the very middle. Mu is a Greek letter, kind of like M, but it's like actually like when you draw it, it's like a U, and then you put like a line on the left side, like a P. We're making a lowercase p. A U is attached to it. Okay. Standard deviation. Standard deviation, which is that other number that's calculated about variance. You want to add that to each side. Starting from the middle, you want to add it. You want to take that number and you want to subtract it. So the way we show that is like 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, 3 standard deviations. Okay, so we start with our mean and we go out 3 standard deviations to the right and 3 standard deviations to the left. Okay, and then as far as how tall do you make your graph, that all depends on the space you have. There really is no one right way to do it. For this one, I'll probably make it about this tall. Okay. Okay. So that's the top of my graph. Before I start drawing it and sketching it, I'm going to go out 1 standard deviation on each side, and I'm going to go about halfway down. Okay. And then I'm going to make another set of dots, both on the left and the right side. Okay. This time, instead of just going like halfway down, I'm going to do that twice. I'm going to be over here. I'm going to go halfway down, then halfway down again. All right, so it kind of has like this like curvy kind of like pyramid type shape, but we don't want to make a curvy type pyramid. We actually have like 3 parts of this graph where these outside edges are mirror images of each other, and this inside part's kind of like an upside down parabola. Okay, so I always start with this middle section. All right, so it's like kind of like an upside down parabola. And then from here, so this is what's considered concave down. You notice how it's like there's at no point is this graph increasing, like it's all facing downward. Okay. This one, however, it's going to curve up, and down here it's going to be curving like that as well. So that's a basic normal curve. Usually we don't draw it as high, but this one I just kind of decided on that for the measure. And then from here, I'm going to draw in some lines that go up from each one of the little marks. Which one of these lines kind of helps us look at and analyze this graph as far as like the spacing into each one? Okay, so it's very helpful to have this gap between your standard deviations. Okay, something else that's very important that we like to add on here is our z-scores. So your mu, your z-score is always 0. Those are all your z-scores. And then the last thing we need to add is, for this one, also some notation that you're going to be familiar with is how this looks. This is going to be going to look just something like. So you always use capital N, but then this is your average and this is your standard deviation. So if you had numbers there, this number would go here, and then you would add this standard deviation to each side, or you would subtract it to go to the left side. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add the 68, 95, and 99.7 on our graph to show that we know how much percentage of data is between each one of these spaces. Okay. All right, so this here says we know that 68% of our numbers fall between -1 and +1 standard deviations from the mean. So 68% of your numbers should fill up that space there. 95% of your numbers go from -2 all the way to +2 underneath this curve. Lastly, we have 99.7. 99.7% of your numbers go from this outside edge to this far side edge. And this last little bit on the outside is going to be 0.15 on each side. Okay, but the entire thing is 100%. Okay. So something else I'll kind of add this little bit. I'm going to put it in a different color. Let's use red. Okay. So to kind of help us see that the 68% can break into two pieces, 34 and 34. Okay. And then this outside, this next edge is a little bit different. Okay, so 95 cut in half is 47 and a half. 47 and a half, take away the 34, it gets 13 and a half. But what I'm doing is I'm showing you that this little gap right here is 13.5% of your data. That's 34%, 34%, and 13.5%. If I add those all up from -2 to +2, it's going to equal 95, okay, for 95%. So this last little remaining section is a little bit of a different number. I believe it's 1.25. Let me double check. Oh, 1.35. Let me just double check. 2.35. Okay, that's why I got to double check. So 2.35. If I was to do the math, right? It took 99.7, cut it in half, took away 34, took away 13.5. 2.35 is what's left over. That's those little sections right there. Okay, so if it asks you something about how much data is right here, that's 34%. If they ask you how much data is like over between this thing, you would add up all those little individual numbers. Okay, so that's how to create a basic normal curve. I'm going to show some example problems next. So if you have more questions on how that applies to individual problems, check those videos out. All right, have a great day. I will talk at you guys later. Bye.